I never thought I'd see something like this in my own house, but there he was, standing in the dark, watching me. Not blinking. Not speaking. Just standing there like he belonged in the shadows. And in that moment, something inside me cracked. This wasn't just an awkward midnight encounter. This was the night I realized my father-in-law was not the man I thought he was. It started 3 months ago. Back then, I was naive, foolishly excited about the app one had been developing. It wasn't some random gimmick. It was a tool I believed could revolutionize small business marketing. My background in behavioral psychology helped me see patterns others missed. My app could analyze customer emotions from social media posts and tailor ads in real time. I called it PulsePoint. I had been quietly building it on weekends, in between freelance gigs and helping my wife plan our small wedding. Her father, Richard, always acted disinterested. Apps are toys, he'd say, sipping his expensive bourbon. Real business is done face-to-face. But one evening over dinner, I slipped. I was too enthusiastic, too proud. I think I'm almost ready to pitch it, I said. PulsePoint, it's smart targeting using AI emotional analysis. I already ran some trials, and the conversion rate doubled. Richard raised an eyebrow. That's so, he said, setting his glass down with a click. At the time, I thought he was finally impressed. Maybe even proud of me. God, I was stupid. He asked a few more questions that night, innocent ones. What does the UI look like? Where's your backend hosted? You have a business plan? I thought he was just making conversation. I didn't see the gleam in his eye. A week later, I got busy with life. The wedding came and went, beautiful and simple. I took a few days off development. I was thinking about our future, about building PulsePoint into something that could support a family. Then it happened. I saw an article in a startup blog. The headline made my stomach turn. Legacy Corp acquires emotional AI startup, Pulsemark, in multi-million deal. Pulsemark. I clicked the article, my fingers trembling. It described a tool almost identical to mine. But someone else had filed the patent. Someone else had launched the beta. And at the bottom of the article, I saw the name of the CEO. Richard Hollins. My father-in-law. My heart stopped. I stared at the screen for what felt like hours. My mind raced, but my body was frozen. Had he hacked my files? Had I accidentally shared something? Or had he taken everything from memory, every word I said over dinner, every diagram I casually drew in conversation? I didn't even notice I was crying until I tasted the salt on my lips. What kind of man does that? What kind of family does that? I confronted my wife. I didn't want to believe she was involved, but I needed answers. She was shocked, confused, said she didn't know anything. And maybe she didn't. She begged me to let her talk to him. But I wasn't waiting. I drove straight to Richard's estate. He wasn't surprised to see me. In fact, he looked amused. Come to congratulate me? He said, standing at the door like a smug villain out of a movie. You stole it, I said. My voice was trembling, but my fists were clenched tight. You stole my idea. An idea you hadn't protected. An idea you rambled about like a kid showing off a science fair project. He stepped aside and gestured toward his living room. You're in the real world now, son. I didn't go inside. I turned and walked away, my ears burning with rage and shame. He wasn't even trying to deny it. And that's when I knew this wouldn't be resolved with a conversation. This wouldn't be settled over family dinners or passive-aggressive texts. If I wanted justice, I'd have to take it. And if he thought I was just a harmless dreamer, he had no idea what I was capable of. Because Richard didn't realize something critical. He might have stolen my idea, but I still had something far more dangerous. I had the truth. And a plan. What he took from me, I would take back tenfold. And when I was finished, he'd be begging me for mercy. After that night, I stopped sleeping properly. I'd lie next to my wife, staring at the ceiling, my mind spinning with betrayal and scenarios. I didn't tell her the full extent of what I planned. Not yet. I needed her to stay unaware, for her sake and mine. But I began tracking everything. I made a list of every conversation I ever had with Richard about PulsePoint. I reviewed my emails, voice memos, sketches, anything that could prove the idea was mine first. Then I contacted a friend from college, Ravi, now a cybersecurity analyst. He owed me a favor. Can you tell if someone accessed my GitHub without permission? I asked over the phone, whispering in my car outside a coffee shop. There was silence, then a slow, "You think someone stole your code?" "Not think." "I know." Ravi agreed to help. A few days later, he called back. "Bro, you were right. There was a login on your account from a device that doesn't match your usual pattern. And get this, it came from a location about 2 blocks from Richard's office."
Boom.
Proof. He didn't just take my idea. He accessed my actual files. I should have felt victorious, but instead, I felt sick. This man sat across from me at family dinners. He toasted our wedding. He called me son. Now he was a digital thief, parading my creation around the media as his innovation. Still, I wasn't ready to go public. Not yet. I needed more. I started researching Pulsemark's investors. A few names popped up: corporate sharks, venture capitalists. One of them, Dana Scott, was known for pulling out of startups if any hint of scandal touched them. I arranged a casual meeting with Dana under the guise of seeking mentorship for a new project. She was sharp, observant, the kind of person who saw through excuses instantly. Over coffee, in a downtown cafe, I told her half the story. I mentioned a stolen concept, a sudden launch, and the odd timing. Her eyes narrowed. "You're saying Pulsemark is built on stolen IP?" "I'm saying it's more than coincidence." She didn't confirm anything, but her expression changed. She was thinking, calculating. I could almost hear the gears turning. When I got home, my wife was sitting on the couch, quiet. She looked up with red-rimmed eyes. "He told me not to ask questions," she whispered. "Who?" I already knew. My dad. He said if I loved him, I wouldn't get involved. That was it. That was all he had to say to keep her quiet? I wanted to scream. Instead, I just nodded. She came to me later that night, holding an old leather-bound notebook. "I think this was yours," she said. I took it with shaky hands. It was mine. One of the earliest versions of the pulse point algorithm, sketched out by hand. She bit her lip. I found it in his home office drawer. So he did take everything. Even my physical notes. How deep did this go? Suddenly, I didn't just want to get my idea back. I wanted everything: his company, his reputation, his legacy. The next day, I called Ravi again. "I need something bold," I said. "Something that'll flip the script." He chuckled. "I think I might have what you need." We got to work. While Richard was busy attending conferences and giving TEDx talks about the future of AI and marketing, we quietly began building a parallel platform. The real Pulse Point. Improved, refined, faster. I didn't just want to match Pulsemark. I wanted to obliterate it. I filed a provisional patent, hired a small dev team under NDA, and started a limited beta with influencers who hated corporate greed. Meanwhile, I kept tabs on Richard's interviews. He was too confident, too arrogant. He believed he'd already won. But he forgot one thing. I'm not a quitter. And I know him better than he knows himself. One night, around 3 a.m., I got a message. From an unknown number. He's lying to his board. Look into user data reports. No name. No hint of who sent it. I stared at the message for a full minute. Then another text followed. There's a mole. Find them before they find you. My skin went cold. Was this a trap? Or was someone inside Pulsemark trying to help me? I dug deeper. Every public earnings report. Every employee testimonial. And I found something strange. Pulsemark claimed it had over 300,000 active users, but traffic reports didn't line up. Their numbers were bloated.
Fake.
They were lying to their investors. If I could prove that, it'd be a kill shot. But then, something even more chilling happened. I came home to find the drawer in my study open. My USB drive was missing. The one with my backup plan. I ran outside, scanning the street. It was empty. Dead quiet. Too quiet. I walked back inside slowly, every light in the house flicking on behind me. My heart thudded, so hard I thought it might break my ribs. And then I saw it. On the hallway mirror, scrawled in something dark. Stop digging. I froze. Was it a prank? Or was someone watching me? I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the kitchen with a bat across my lap and my laptop open, backing up every single file to cloud servers Ravi had secured. If Richard thought he could scare me into silence, he had no idea who he was messing with. Because now it wasn't just about a stolen idea. Now it was war. It had been 3 weeks since the message on the mirror. 3 weeks since the last shred of doubt left me. Whoever warned me wasn't bluffing.
Someone had eyes on me.
I changed all my passwords. I installed cameras in the house. I encrypted every file on every device I owned. But none of that stopped the pressure. Because deep down I knew Richard was panicking. He wouldn't play dirty unless he felt cornered. And that meant I was getting closer than he ever expected. The turning point came on a rainy Thursday morning. My phone buzzed just after 9 a.m. It was Dana Scott, the VC I had met weeks earlier. I want to see you, she said sharply. Today. I'm sending a car. She wasn't asking. By 11, I was sitting across from her in a sleek glass office 20 stories up. Rain streaked the windows behind her, gray light cutting through the tension between us. Dana slid a folder across the table. Anonymous leak, she said. I opened it. My pulse exploded. Inside were detailed reports, real user metrics, manipulated engagement rates, forged investor updates, all from Pulsemark. Signed and dated. By Richard. These were sent to my team late last night, Dana said. And you're the first person I called. I looked at her. You believe me now. She didn't blink. I believed you weeks ago.
But now?
Now I've got fire. I leaned back. So, what happens next? That depends, she said slowly. Do you want to expose him? Or replace him? My heart nearly stopped. Replace him. Dana smiled like a wolf. We can force a board vote. If Pulsemark's financials are falsified and a founder is linked to fraud, he's out. But to pull this off, we need a clean alternative. Something better. Something ready. I didn't hesitate. I have it. I've been building it. Your version of the platform? I nodded. It's called Phoenix Pulse. Dana arched an eyebrow. Nice name. I shrugged. Seemed appropriate. By the time I left that meeting, we had a plan. In 2 weeks, Dana and 2 other investors would stage an emergency board review. The leaked reports would be presented, and I'd step forward as both whistleblower and solution, offering Phoenix Pulse as a fully developed, legitimate pivot option. But we had to be quiet. Stealth was everything. Because Richard? He wasn't going to go down without a fight. Sure enough, 2 days later, my wife called me in tears. He showed up at the apartment, she said. Said you're trying to destroy him. That you're unstable. I gritted my teeth. Did you believe him? No, she said softly. Not anymore. Later that night, she admitted what I suspected. Her father had manipulated her for years. Guilt trips. Silent treatments. Emotional blackmail. She didn't want to see it until now. He used me, she whispered, to get to you. That was the last straw. This wasn't just about revenge. This was about cleansing a wound that had poisoned everything around me. When the day of the board review arrived, I wore my best suit, printed every document, and walked into Pulsemark's headquarters like I owned the place. Richard saw me from the end of the hall. He froze mid-conversation. What are you doing here? He snapped. I smiled, slow and steady. Just in time for your meeting. His face darkened. You think you can pull this stunt and get away with it? No, I said. I think I can pull this stunt and win. The boardroom was cold, sleek, intimidating. But I walked in tall, sat at the table like I belonged. Dana spoke first. We've received evidence of falsified user data, manipulation of financial statements, and intellectual property theft. She dropped the file on the table like a gavel. Another investor chimed in, and we've vetted a replacement. A platform with real promise, created by the original visionary behind the PulsePoint concept. All eyes turned to me. I stood.
Calm.
Controlled. Righteous. I told them everything. How the idea came to life in my notebook. How I shared it with Richard in good faith. How he stole it, corrupted it, and built a lie around it. Then I opened my laptop, logged into Phoenix Pulse, and gave a live demo. It was cleaner.
Faster. Smarter.
Everyone saw it.
And Richard?
He lost it. "This is slander," he shouted, standing so fast his chair toppled behind him. "This little brat. He's just bitter. He's using my daughter." Dana cut him off cold. "You're done, Richard." She turned to the others, all in favor of removing Richard Miller as CEO of Pulsemark. One by one, hands went up. Mine was the last. When it was done, Richard stared at me, broken, disbelieving. "You think you've won," he growled. I didn't say a word. I just turned and walked out. When I stepped outside the building, the sunlight hit differently. Like the storm had passed. Like I had survived something only I truly understood. I didn't cheer. I didn't scream. I didn't gloat. Because real victory? It's silent. It's in the shift of power. It's in the look on their face when they realize they've lost everything they took from you. Within a week, Phoenix Pulse became the face of the entire operation. Pulsemark's branding faded into the background as investors restructured and rebranded the company around my platform. Richard's office? Mine now. And his name? Scrubbed from the website, the legal documents, the investor decks. It was like he had never been there. The same man who stood at the top of the pyramid, mocking my dreams, now sat in his empty home watching the news as I got interviewed for building the next-gen analytics platform with integrity and innovation. But don't mistake me, this wasn't just business. This was personal, and I wanted him to feel it. I didn't press charges. I didn't sue. I didn't bury him in legal hell.
No.
I made sure he got exactly what he deserved, a front-row seat to me thriving. One day, a reporter asked me in an interview, "Do you have any comment about your former mentor, Richard Miller, and his departure from the tech space?" I smiled. No comment. I just hope he finds peace. That answer went viral. People called it classy. But those who knew the truth? They knew it was the final twist of the knife. A few months later, I got an unexpected call from his wife, my mother-in-law. She was leaving him. "He's not the man I thought I married," she told me. "The things he did to you, the lies. I can't stay with someone like that." That call shook me. Not because I wanted revenge on her too, but because it made me realize just how far the ripples had reached. This man's downfall wasn't just poetic justice. It was a wake-up call to everyone who ever protected him, enabled him, excused him. People were seeing the truth. Finally. Even my wife's demeanor had changed. We weren't separated anymore. We were rebuilding. "We can't erase the past," she said one night as we sat on the balcony, city lights glowing around us. "But I see you now. For who you are. For what he took from you." She paused, tears in her eyes. "And I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." I took her hand. "You weren't the villain."
He was. But now?
We write the next chapter. Together. And yet, even with all this unfolding, a part of me wasn't done. Because Richard still had one thing left. His pride. So I bought the house. The one he built for his legacy. The same house where he hosted parties bragging about Pulsemark, showing off his tech genius to his rich friends. It had gone up for sale quietly. He needed the cash. His assets were drying up faster than he could mask it. I bought it anonymously through a holding company. And then, once the sale cleared, I invited him to meet me there. When he arrived and saw me standing on his front porch holding his keys, something inside him broke. "You," he whispered. "You did this." I didn't smile. I didn't need to. I just opened the door and gestured for him to step inside. "This was the future you stole from me," I said calmly. "Now it's mine. Every room, every brick, every hallway filled with your old victories now echoes with my new ones." He looked like he was going to collapse. "This wasn't revenge," I told him, walking past him. "This was restoration. You burned down my life, and I rebuilt it stronger. And now, you get to live with the ashes." He didn't reply. He couldn't. Because he knew. I didn't just take his company. I didn't just build something better. I didn't just take his legacy. I became what he could never be.
Honest.
Brilliant, respected, and free from the rot that consumed him. As he left the property that once symbolized his control, I watched him from the balcony. One man walking away, shoulders hunched under the weight of his consequences. And me? I stood tall, unshaken. Home. It's strange what silence sounds like after a storm. It isn't quiet. It hums, like something sacred. After Richard left the house that day, I stood alone in what used to be his study, his throne room. He had a favorite leather chair by the window. He used to sip expensive bourbon in it, pretending to read, pretending to think. Really, he was just admiring the empire he thought he built with brilliance. But brilliance without character is just ego with good lighting. I didn't keep the chair. I donated it the next morning. I replaced it with a simple desk, a corkboard of vision ideas, and the photo of my old whiteboard from back when my business idea was just sketches and scribbles. The same sketches he once laughed at. Too idealistic, he said. Too ambitious. But I guess ambition with heart was exactly what the world needed. I began mentoring younger founders. Not for press. Not for networking. Just to make sure no one else would get robbed the way I had. Because people like Richard, they don't just steal ideas. They steal belief. And that kind of theft is harder to recover from than anything financial. One day, a young woman pitched me a startup. She was nervous, fidgety, but the idea was powerful. The potential was massive. But she kept saying, I don't know if it's good enough. I don't know if I'm good enough. I leaned in and said, let me tell you something. I told her my story, not to impress her, to remind her, don't ever hand your crown to someone who didn't build your kingdom.
She cried.
Then pitched again. And nailed it. That's what healing looks like. Not just recovering, but becoming someone who protects others from what once broke you. Months passed. Pulse mark faded from public memory. Phoenix Pulse rose like the name suggested, out of fire, into legacy. But the twist? I never changed the core values on the About Us page. Integrity, transparency, innovation, compassion. The same values Richard once deleted from the original draft of our business plan. He called them too soft. And now, they were the pillars of an empire. Funny how that works. Sometimes, what people call your weakness is your greatest strength. They just lack the vision to see it. I didn't need revenge anymore. I had peace. And legacy. But then something unexpected happened.
It was a Thursday.
I had just wrapped up a product meeting when an assistant walked in, pale and hesitant. There's a man outside, says he knows you. Says it's urgent. I almost said no. But some instinct, made me ask, what's his name? She looked down, then up. Richard Miller. The name didn't sting anymore, just echoed like a ghost. I stepped out into the reception area. There he was. Older. Smaller.
Defeated.
5 minutes, I said, motioning him into a side room. He didn't sit. Just stood there, holding a yellow envelope. What is this? I asked. His voice was low, hoarse. It's everything. The patent filings. The recordings. The paper trail of what I did to you. I kept it, just in case. He looked up at me, eyes dull but honest. I don't have much left. But maybe this can clear your name. Officially. I raised an eyebrow. Clear my name? The world already knows the truth. I know. But you don't have your name on his patents. I want to fix that. I stood in silence. Not out of anger. Out of disbelief.
Why now?
Why are you doing this? I finally asked. He swallowed. Because losing everything taught me what matters. And because my grandson deserves to know his grandfather did one thing right. My throat caught. I took the envelope but said nothing. He turned to leave. And as he opened the door, I said softly, this doesn't fix what you broke. He nodded. I know. But maybe it plants something better in its place. He left. I opened the envelope later that night. And sure enough, he wasn't lying. Documents. Emails. Screenshots. audio clips. Everything that could have destroyed him long ago was now in my hands. But I didn't leak it, didn't post it, didn't weaponize it. I filed it, quietly. A final symbol of the full circle. Because sometimes the greatest power is not using the sword you earned. It's choosing not to swing it. I placed it in the bottom drawer of my desk, locked it, and smiled. Richard was right about one thing. Legacies aren't built in boardrooms. They're built in the hearts of those you impact. And mine was just getting started.